Medicine is about breadth. Studying this degree is breadth. It's about knowing so much, but not necessarily in extreme detail.
Baby girl love my bop and unlike me too.
Shoes off at the door, because I am making a real conscious effort to keep this place clean and tidy. Right, let's bring you over here. So it is Monday morning and I just felt like vlogging today. It's gonna be pretty unscripted, this video, and I'm just gonna show you what a day in my life is like on a Monday studying medicine at Manchester. I need coffee. Let's go do that. So there are 3 lifts, and this is the most annoying one because it doesn't take you to the top floor. It takes you to floor number 14, and then you've got to walk up 1 flight of stairs. So it kind of defeats the point. Voila! So you probably noticed I'm wearing a cap, and I don't normally wear caps, but I have started doing so. And that's primarily because I've just started to get really lazy with my appearance, and it's just far more convenient to just stick one of these on your head and not worry about your hair. Now, one of the things I absolutely love about living here at Vita is the fact that we have that coffee machine on the top floor and I can just have unlimited coffee refills whenever I want. Barista style coffees. Is it barista? I don't know. Definitely tastes like barista. Now that is one of the most amazing things about living here, but one thing that really drives me crazy is the fact that the bin chute system that we have never seems to work. So I'm gonna take this bin out to the bin chute now, and chances are it's not gonna be working. It's never working. Do you know what? I'm leaving it there. And it's got to that point where I've taken it that many times to the bin chute, and it's just not working, that I'm just not willing to bring back the dirty trash in my flat and make my flat stink. Why should I do that when the bin chutes should be working? So now that we've got that out of the way, let's have a little sit down with a coffee and have a little chat, because I feel like we've not done this in a while. But let's just turn this light down. Look at this little setup I've got here for when I want to do a little talking to the camera segments. I'm going to turn the light down a little bit because it's a bit bright. I really like this light because it's got the option of making it more or less blue, and obviously blue is a little bit more like the day, and because it's winter in Manchester at the minute, it is absolutely disgusting in terms of the weather. Let me show you what it looks like outside. It's gloomy, it's grey, it's raining, so gross. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to just come on here and share with you what a day in my life looks like a usual Monday for a medical student at Manchester. It is now, as you can see, 11:10, and this morning we actually had our PBL case open. Basically, we do the same every single Monday from 9 till 10:30 with the 10 members of our PBL group, whereby we all get together, sit around a table with a facilitator, and we read through the case for that week. And that case is basically about a patient, a brief history, a brief story about what she's coming to the hospital for, what she's presenting with, and everything else. And that will basically mark the week's study and the topics and cues that we need to address for the week. And the purpose of that PBL session is to sit around the table, brainstorm, read through the case, identify the main key points. From that, we create some learning agendas. And what these learning agendas are is a number of questions, generally ranging in the number of about 10 to 20, which we will work through throughout the course of the week. Just to give you an example, let's take the casebook out and have a look at it. It's upside down. This is basically the life cycle, which is our first semester topics, all the different cases. And they basically have a relatively detailed overview about what that patient is presenting with, and that is gonna essentially dictate our week's study. Now, before we actually crack on with some work, Christmas is very fast approaching. And being a guy, I find it very, very difficult to actually come up with gift inspiration for women. But I've got the perfect solution for you.
Iced coffee.
Iced coffee?
In the winter.
Decaf.
Decaf.
I've also got something for you.
Go on.
Have a look.
It's very sweet. Oh, cute.
Earrings. Do you like them?
Yeah. Love them. Oh my god, that's so nice. Super nice. Thank you. That's so pretty. So nice.
Now, as you can see, my sister absolutely loved her coffee, but she also loved those pieces that we got her from Ana Luisa. Guys, if you are looking for some excellent pieces of jewelry, Ana Luisa are running an amazing BOGO sale. It's a buy one, get one, 60% off, which is amazing considering all of their pieces are super high quality. I'm talking 14 karat gold plating, and they've also got a sustainability mission, which is amazing because not only is it high quality, not only is it super sustainable, 14 karat gold plating, but also the price is really great and the delivery times are even better. So go click that link in my video description and take advantage of this amazing festive sale that Ana Luisa are running. But it's probably time we get back to doing some work. Off we go. So, if I give you a little bit of background information on this week's case, it's gonna probably provide a little bit more context as to how this whole thing works. This week's case is case 8. She's a 79-year-old lady who lives on her own and she presents to A&E with a swollen wrist. She has fallen. Yeah, we're making good progress here, aren't we? It's a Monday morning, guys, you know? Like, cut me some slack. She's broken her wrist and she lives alone. She also takes prednisolone, which is a steroid to treat her temporal arteritis. Right there, we've got two key cues because temporal arteritis, that will mean that we need to do some reading on that, and also prednisolone, 10 milligrams a day, and also that's an example of something that we need to read about this week to understand how that steroid is used. But also it says that she's been taking this for the last 15 years. I already know that taking steroids over a long period of time, it can result in you're more likely to have osteoporosis. Obviously, by having a lower bone density, you're more likely to have breakages and fractures. And that's exactly what happened in this case. Now, it also mentions that she lives alone because her husband died a few years ago and she drinks every 2 weeks. But in addition to that, she also takes diazepam and cocodamol. Now, diazepam being a benzodiazepine, that will obviously interact with alcohol, and if that interacts with alcohol, it can impair your cognitive function, result in dizziness, and make you more susceptible to falls. So as you can see here, as I'm reading through this case, this is essentially what we do in our PBL. I'm gonna close that door because that building work is really annoying. And it explains how she goes to the hospital with a broken radius, so actually not the wrist, it's the bone here, and she has a surgical treatment towards that. And after the surgery, she started to develop some inflammation around the area. She gets red, hot, and swollen. She starts with a fever, which is pretty much a natural response to inflammation. And she also has this discharge of yellow pus. So they actually do a swab of this yellow pus and find out that she actually has MRSA. But of course, the point of reading this and being introduced to the case is to highlight these specific bits of information, such as MRSA. Like, I know that that's an antibiotic resistant bacteria, but I don't know much about it. But what that's gonna mean is we added that to our learning agenda, one of the questions, and that's gonna dictate our week's learning. And we're very likely gonna get a lecture on that this week. Okay, so you're probably wondering at this point, what is the kind of workflow that we use to now address the casework throughout our week's study? Stick you on here. With it being a Monday, we don't actually have any lectures. Tuesday tends to be our day of like big lecture material. We'll tend to have about 4 hours worth of lectures from 2 p.m. till 6 p.m. And those lectures will essentially be a sort of overview about the topics that are going to help us and help guide us in our home learning. And out of those 4 hours worth of lectures. I'll generally have an anatomy Zoom call where we'll be introduced to the anatomy topics that are relevant for that week's case. Now, specifically in this case, this lady has kyphosis, which is a spine condition where, as you'll notice in a lot of elderly patients, their spine will be curved, and that will basically mean our anatomy reading for the week will be the vertebral column. And then our subsequent 2 hours worth of lectures will probably be more molecular and scientific based, and then the final lecture will generally be more behavioral and social science. But if we look at what tomorrow looks like, we actually start at 11 till 1 with a face-to-face consultation skills session, and we have this every single week. It's a 2-hour opportunity to learn essentially the more fundamental things about being a doctor, how to have consultations with a patient, how to do history taking, how to ask the right questions, how to empathize with your patient, and, you know, really figure out what they're here to see the doctor for, and how, as a medical student, we can effectively gather as much information as possible in a compassionate way. So that's probably the highlight of the week, because that's where you actually feel like you're learning the skills that are gonna help you actually become a good doctor. But it is actually 10 to 12, and normally I would have actually got a couple hours of studying, but I've decided to vlog instead. But I do have a study skills appointment, and that is because I decided to book this appointment out of my own accord because I wasn't fully satisfied with my performance on the mid-semester test, which is a test that we did just 2 weeks ago, testing cases 1 to case 4. I put in a lot of work, a lot of studying, and really treated it like an exam, sat down under exam conditions, and I scored 75%, which I was really, really unhappy with. I know they often say, you know, don't stress yourself out about this, because it is just there to sort of highlight your strengths and your weaknesses, and because it is formative and it doesn't actually count towards the real thing, it is just there to sort of act as an indicator as to how well your studying style so far translates to exams. Actually, it was really helpful because it really just further emphasized to me the importance on the learning agendas. There's a massive misconception at university when it comes to studying medicine that your lectures are the be-all and end-all and you need to learn everything from the lectures because that's the syllabus. But it doesn't work like that in medicine. The lectures are just there as a sort of brief overview. Your focus needs to be on the learning agenda questions that you and your PBL group and the facilitator come up with, because the facilitator is there looking at the ILOs, the intended learning objectives for the week. He is making sure that we are covering the points that we need to cover to make sure that we get what we need to get out of that case. So it was really helpful in that regard, just further emphasizing where I need to be focusing my attention, because I focused too much depth on the science, the molecular, and didn't focus enough on the breadth. Medicine is about breadth. Studying this degree is breadth, breadth, breadth. It's about knowing so much, but not necessarily in extreme detail. But it is now 1:10 p.m. and I've done absolutely no studying today, and I am really, really hungry, so I'm gonna stick some food in the microwave. I'm gonna have my pre-made Chinese dish that I cooked a few weeks ago, froze it, and is now defrosted. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. I'll just pretend I didn't do that. And that was the end. Not very essential session. As med students, we're supposed to have clinical GP placements throughout semester 1 and semester 2. But obviously because of COVID, that has meant that we've not been able to do that, and the year 2s have been prioritized. But we are supposed to have that in semester 2, starting from January the 27th, the day after my birthday. For the rest of the day, I am gonna go ahead and just start working on the BSS side of this week's case. Following my meeting from the study skills tutor, she did say that if you're not getting through the BSS because you don't necessarily like it as much, we tend to gravitate towards the things that we enjoy, and for me that is the science, that is the clinical application of things. And she advised just getting the BSS over and done with at the start of the week so I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week. And then this evening we've also got the Christmas MedSoc ball. It's actually just at a nightclub. We're going to be going with some of the grads, some of the undergrads, and I just think it's really important in year one to make the most of all the socials. Because come year 3, come year 4, year 5, you're not going to have the opportunity to do all the socials because you're going to be so bogged down with the amount of work that you've got to do. But yeah, a few of them are going to come here first, and then we're going to head over to this club. But before I actually start cracking on with some work, this needs clearing up. I pretty much only drink sparkling water. I live off this stuff. I love it. So much better than normal water. Right, enough procrastinating. It's now 2 PM and we've got no work done. So let's crack on. I literally love this desk that was sent to me by FlexiSpot. Look at that, I can literally just stand up and do my work instead of sitting down. And that improves my concentration massively because I feel like if I'm sat down for a really long period of time, my mind starts wandering and I am less focused. So by standing up, I've now got a new perspective to work from, and also it's better for your posture. Okay, so I'm actually starting off some of today's work by reading through some of the notes that Raoul made from last week's case, and he definitely likes adding a bit of humor. We're all inevitably gonna get cancer unless something else kills us first, like this cop. So yeah, we've actually both been super ill this last couple weeks. It's not COVID, don't worry. I think it might have been the flu. Now, if you guys are wondering what I'm doing, I'm not actually working through the case like I said I was going to. Normally, I would spend the weekend finishing off the previous week's case, but because I had a busy weekend, I was in London, I was DJing all Saturday, and I decided to go out on Saturday night. I had a really unproductive weekend. I'm spending right now turning these question banks that I've already built from last week and putting them into Anki. Now, if you're wondering what I mean by question banks, basically when it comes to me writing my notes and building my revision material, I found that there's no point writing in-depth, beautiful, pretty notes with big headings and subheadings and loads of diagrams. As helpful as that is in the long run, it's just not time efficient when you're trying to get through so much work. Instead of writing really, really pretty notes, every time I read something that I find is relevant to my case, I'll formulate that into a question and then turn it into a little toggle on Notion, and I'll have the answer written within that toggle. And that's basically because when I read something of importance, it means I'm already thinking about the kind of way that that could be asked in an exam, and that's making it a lot more easier for me to actually learn. Because everything in that topic, let's say diagnosis of breast cancer and treatments, I've basically already got a question bank for all of the kind of questions that they could ask in the exam. So as you can see already, all of this information I'm reading online and I'm formulating it into a question bank, which at the end of the week, I can then just drag and drop, copy and paste all of these answers into Anki, which is the AI system that I absolutely swear by. It is an amazing flashcard system because it synchronizes over to my mobile phone. When I'm on the go, I can just pull out my flashcards and I've got all these really reliable question banks that I've created based on my course content. And there we go. We've done a good amount of last week's Anki deck building, and it is now 4 PM and I've not actually started on this week's case. So the way that I go about starting on my next week's preparation is actually not by just starting on the course content. I will actually pull up Notion. I will create a new case in my medicine tab in semester 1, and this is called case 8. I'm just gonna show you an example of last week's case 7 just to kind of illustrate exactly how I go about managing my week. I will create, first of all, a checklist, and that'll be all of the content that's all on OneMed. So as you can see right here, this is last week's work, and as you can see, all the resources that they have on there as well. That just allows me to just tick off everything as I do it. And then I create a learning agendas tab, which is all the questions that we come up with as a group. And then I highlight them in green after I have filled them out over the course of the week with all my studying and all my work. You know, I've got a brief summary that's right there. Basically means that I've got an answer for everything in the PBL case close on Friday, and I can contribute. And it's also a really good way for me to stay on top of what I'm getting through. In medicine, you always feel like you're behind and you can never be on top of everything, and that's because the depth that you can learn is endless. I feel like this is the best way of managing how to stay on top of what you're doing. And I feel like by creating this checklist, it means that you're covering all the content that you need to cover. And by answering all the learning agenda questions, it shows you that you have, at the end of the week, got through everything that you actually need to get through. Here is everything I need to get through over the course of this week. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna focus on these today, just because I tend to forget about those and end up missing them, and they are an integral part of the course. Before I continue though, I need some more caffeine, which isn't good, I know. I'm gonna have a cup of tea. 3 minutes, leaving it to brew. I don't care what anyone says. You don't stick a spoon in there and start splashing around, squishing the tea bag. So we're gonna give it 3 minutes just to brew. Getting a lot of value on this YouTube channel, aren't you? Travel content, medical content, how to make a cup of tea content. If you're enjoying it, you know, drop me a like, hit that like button right there. I'm just gonna wait for you to do it. Have you done it? There you go, perfect. And that, my friends, is how you make a cup of tea. That is the color it's meant to look, okay? There's nothing that a cup of tea can't solve. It solves every problem ever, other than the fact that I'm just completely procrastinating right now, and I should probably get some work done. And so it is 5:30. I've got a selection of nuts. Brazil nuts with dark chocolate. Almonds, should have on average about 12 a day. Pistachios, handful of those. And of course walnuts. These are all the most healthiest kind of nuts. And I get all this stuff from Holland & Barrett, if you're wondering. And these Brazil nuts with chocolate are unbelievable. So I'm just reading through and watching some of the online resources. I know a lot of doctors try to avoid going into geriatric care. I understand it to an extent, because ultimately as a doctor, your responsibility is to try and treat that patient to make them better, to make the outcome after you have intervened better for them. Ultimately, they are on the decline in terms of their health, their mobility, and the outcomes of potentially their disease. So being a doctor within geriatric care can be quite, I guess, disheartening, because you're treating patients that aren't necessarily recovering or getting better. Yeah, they put a lot of emphasis on that social interaction and people really making an effort. And that actually reminds me, I'm gonna call my grandma, and I'm on a break as well. Hello?
Hi, Matthew. Not too bad.
You know, you don't really think about it, because a phone call to you and I is just another thing that happens in our day, but that simple effort of making a phone call is a really valuable thing that they do appreciate. Pause the video, call one of your grandparents, and, you know, ask how their day's going. And so we are on 7 p.m. and Barts University is actually running an online webinar talking about US clinical experience and how to match to US residencies. And if you're wondering about how I hear about all these events, I actually follow all of the different med societies on my Instagram, which you can follow right there, and I tend to sign up for the majority of them. The more things that I'm exposed to, the more I'm going to be in an advantage when it comes to finding out about stuff like this.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam Lynn. I'm a plastic surgeon in the Boston area. I'm a program director for our Harvard Plastic Surgery program, residency program.
Turkey pasta in a red wine and tomato, basil, and spicy sauce. Basil because we're British. I don't know why I said basil. And so I'm ready for the Christmas party, wearing the most Christmassy outfit ever. Let's see what Matt has to say. Matt, I've got my Christmas outfit on.
Oh yeah, let's see.
Do you want to see?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah. very Christmassy, isn't
It's
it?
very Christmassy. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks good. I like the hat.
Festive.
Not very festive.
Not very festive.
No.
And I have to confess, I have actually worn this outfit for the last, how many nights on the road?
At least 2.
At least, I think it's more like 3 to be honest. And so this is the room where I'm hosting the sort of pre-party, I guess you'd call it, with some of the students. We're all gonna come here first, have some drinks. I'm gonna insert some footage of the night because I don't wanna be bringing this very intrusive camera along with me. But that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button so you get notified every time I post weekly content. And I will see you in the next one.